A very good afternoon and welcome to Adbn News at 2. We bring you the latest developments from Nigeria, Africa and around the world. And I am Cynthia Okosa. Now the details. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu says the newly remodeled Abuja City Gate stands as an enduring symbol of national renewal, unity and progress. Represented by the First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, at the commissioning ceremony in Abuja, the President commended the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Barrister Nyesom Wike, for his commitment to infrastructure development, describing the project as a fitting tribute to the third anniversary of the administration and the 50th anniversary of the FCT.
An iconic landmark that stands as a symbol of our national identity and serves as the gateway to our nation's capital. When we look at a nation's capital, it represents the heart of its people. Abuja is Nigeria's diplomatic and administrative center, where all 36 states meet. Therefore, our city gate is one of the major first impressions of this city that welcomes visitors, reflects the character of our people, and communicates the pride our nation takes in its capital.
In his remarks, the FCT minister said the remodeling of the Abuja City Gate was initiated following a directive from the First Lady, who stressed that the entrance to the nation's capital should reflect Nigeria's status.
You have come here now, you look as if there's some simple. It's not simple. If you know what they put in here on ground, you will be baffled. I know that by the time Her Excellency commissions this remodeled city gate, and then you see the lighting, except somebody who does not like good thing. If anybody here likes good thing, and by the time she commissions this, and you see the waterfront and the lighting, you know that, to the glory of God, we have arrived.
The minister said the new water fountain, modern lighting system, and the improvements would further beautify the capital city, expressing confidence that Nigerians would appreciate the transformation as another milestone in the renewal of Abuja. The federal government is set to deepen engagement with state governors and emergency response agencies on the adoption of 112 as Nigeria's single national emergency number. The decision followed a meeting between the chairman of the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, governing board, Chief Ibikunle Olurinimbe, and Vice President Kashim Shettima at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. The move comes days after the National Economic Council approved the adoption of 112 as the unified national emergency number to strengthen the country's emergency response system. Vice President Shettima directed the NCC to develop a roadmap for the full implementation of the initiative and collaborate with the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to ensure a coordinated national response to emergencies. Addressing State House correspondent Olorunimbe said the NCC has established about 35 emergency communication centers across the country and called on state governors to provide the necessary support and maintain the facilities to ensure their effective operation.
The number is very easy to memorize, 112. Everybody can remember it, the old, the young, the educated, the rich, the indigent. So it's a number that anybody can easily recall. It's also a number that costs you no money to use. The number is built into the phones that you have already bought. So if you have an emergency and you don't have credit, if you call, they will respond. And So when it is working, I guess the reason why the government is so keen is because we know that the most important thing is the response time. Once you can call quickly and they can respond quickly, it means that whatever it is that the issue is can be addressed very, very quickly.
Senator representing Borno South, Ali Ndume, has urged President Bola Tinubu to speak directly to Nigerians instead of relying solely on his spokespersons. Ndume made the call after a meeting with the president at the State House in Abuja. He said Nigerians needed to hear directly from their leader, especially amid the current economic challenges facing the country. The lawmaker disclosed that he raised the issue during his meeting with President Tinubu, who assured him that the concern would be considered.
Welfare of citizens, like cost of petrol, foodstuff, transportation, of course. We have all it takes. It's just that we need to coordinate it. And once it's being coordinated, and once even Nigerians see the effort of the government, they normally appreciate it. And that's what I told Mr. President, that you should reach out. Another aspect that I advised and he promised to look into is to speaking to Nigerians. Nigerians would expect that your leader will tell you what is going on, how is, instead of other people talking on behalf of Mr. President.
On insecurity, Ndume described the situation as Nigeria's biggest challenge, warning that the threat has spread beyond the northeast to other parts of the country. He stressed the need for a coordinated national response to tackle the growing security crisis.
You know that the issue of insecurity is our greatest concern in this country now. It used to be in the northeast alone. It went to south, north central, northwest, and even now southwest. We had a residual issue of insecurity with IPOPs in the northeast and in the southeast. Now, even though you could see these days that it has been controlled, the southeast issue is not as before. And that is one other area that we need to actually commend those that are involved, particularly the CNC, that is the president.
The inaugural meeting of the Communications Subcommittee of the Presidential Task Force on Ebola virus disease preparedness and emerging public health threats brought together key government agencies, media organizations, and other communication stakeholders in Abuja. Our information correspondent, Erima Okbo, reports.
As concerns grow over the Ebola outbreak in parts of East Africa, Nigeria is taking proactive steps to prevent the virus from entering the country. The Communications Subcommittee, chaired by the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, is one of the several subcommittees established following the inauguration of the Presidential Task Force on Ebola virus disease preparedness by President Tinubu on June 8. Speaking at Radio House in Abuja, the minister said the government decision to activate its response before recording any case demonstrates its commitment to protecting its citizens through early planning and coordinated action.
The recent developments elsewhere in Africa remind us that infectious diseases know no borders. Our responsibility, therefore, is to remain vigilant while providing accurate information that reassures the public without creating any fear or panic. Communication is one of the most powerful tools in managing public health emergencies.
The minister noted that the Communications Subcommittee brings together strategic stakeholders from across health and communication sector to harmonize public messaging and strengthen risk communication, stressing that effective communication remains a critical pillar in managing public health emergencies, warning that misinformation could undermine public confidence and response efforts.
In Nigeria, however, I wish to reassure all citizens, again, there is no confirmed case of Ebola virus disease. Nonetheless, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, has assessed the risk of importation as high, given regional population movement and international travels. Consequently, surveillance has been strengthened at our points of entry, health facilities have been placed on heightened alert, and preparedness measures are being intensified across the country.
The Communications Subcommittee is expected to develop a coordinated national communication strategy aimed at strengthening public awareness, promotes preventive measures, countering misinformation, and supporting Nigeria's overall Ebola preparedness. From the Federal Capital Territory, Erima Okwo, Adbn News.
The giant strides recorded during President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's 3-year in office have repositioned Nigeria's economy and placed the country on the path of renewed growth and sustainable development through bold economic reforms, strategic investments, and investor-friendly policies. Director General of the European African Chamber of Commerce and Industries, Ambassador Kingsley Obasoha, made the remarks during a strategic partners engagement in Abuja. He said, despite inheriting numerous economic challenges, the Tinubu administration has implemented reforms that are gradually reviving the nation's economy and restoring investor confidence.
Gradually, I think the president has been able to make some landmarks achievement in terms of some of the initiatives he has taken, the economic reforms, some of the waivers economically that also be granted in specific sectors of the economy like agriculture. I know there are some waivers that were granted and also some very key sectors. So looking at it, in terms of the totality, I would say the president has tried. He still has one more year to go. There's still a lot of expectation from the people, but I just say we should give him more time.
Ambassador Obasoha said the European African Chamber of Commerce and Industries is committed to supporting the Renewed Hope agenda by facilitating investments in key sectors of the economy.
The government cannot do it alone. That's why there's the need for partnership. So when you have that collaboration with an multinational organization like the European African Chamber of Commerce, who are currently financing projects in over 21 nations, projects that can even create jobs, over 10,000 jobs. We have some of them already. So this is the way you can solve unemployment, and that's what the president is doing, and he also needs to enhance give more credence to what he has already started. It's not an easy task, but it requires huge collaboration and partnership.
Project implementation partners in Nigeria for Euro-Africa CCI also identified key areas requiring greater government attention, including renewable energy and affordable housing for Nigerians. They said these sectors could be fully funded through investments facilitated by the European African Chamber of Commerce and Industries.
What we're doing with the chambers is that we have made them to see just few of our projects, just 3 of them. We have a project that we are running, for instance, with the Nigerian Army. We've tested it with the Nigerian Army. Now we want to run it with the entire Nigerian military. So that project is one of the projects that we're showing them. We said, look, the Nigerian military who have actually secured the integrity of this country, they deserve to have a decent accommodation.
What we are bringing on board is to making sure that we have power that is available, number one, that is not interrupted. So what we are providing is an uninterrupted power supply. And again, when you are bringing a solution, it must be very affordable. So our solution will be the most affordable type of energy that the world has ever seen.
The European African Chamber of Commerce and Industries operates in 98 member countries across Europe and Africa, promoting trade, investment, and strategic partnerships between both continents. The Joint Task Force operating Hadinkai says several suspected Islamic State West African province ISWAP terrorists have been killed during a failed attack on a military base in Borno State. The insurgents attempted to overrun the forward operating base at Loku Gomani in Ngala local government area, but were met with fierce resistance from troops, forcing the surviving attackers to retreat. The media information officer of Operation Hadinkai, Captain Mohammed Goni, said the terrorists briefly breached a section of the base's defensive perimeter before troops regrouped and launched a counter-offensive that inflicted heavy casualties on the attackers. He said one soldier paid the supreme price, while 2 gun trucks and some combat equipment were damaged during the encounter. He added that the situation has since been brought under control with reinforcements deployed to the area. Meanwhile, troops of Sector 3 Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hadinkai have intercepted a suspected foreign drug courier and recovered a large consignment of illicit drugs and other prohibited substances allegedly meant for terrorists operating in the Lake Chad Islands. The suspect was arrested during an operation in Kwatan Dorongbaga, Kukawa local government area of Borno State, while allegedly transporting the items to the terrorists. The acting military information officer of Operation Hadinkai, Captain Mohammed Goni, said the recovered items included 7 compressed bundles of suspected cannabis sativa weighing about 30 kilograms, 2 10-liter containers of hydromercuric chloride, alcoholic beverages, and other prohibited substances. Security operatives also recovered a mobile phone, 2 automated teller machine cards, personal effects, and cash as investigations continue. The Nigerian Air Force has recorded another milestone in its fleet modernization program following the successful completion of the factory acceptance test for an additional 3 AW109 Tracker Type B helicopters at Leonardo Helicopters facility in Virgat, Italy. According to statements signed by the Director of Public Relations and Information, Nigerian Air Force Air Commodore Ehimen Ejodame, the acceptance exercise was conducted from June 29th to July 3rd, 2026, by a delegation made up of representatives of the Nigeria Air Force and the Ministry of Defense. The statement explains that the exercise reflects the federal government's sustained commitment to strengthening Nigeria's air power capabilities and enhancing the operational readiness of the armed forces to address evolving security challenges. The statement adds that the Nigerian delegation carried out comprehensive inspections and flight evaluations to confirm that the helicopters met all contractual specifications and operational requirements ahead of their delivery to Nigeria. In Delta State, the Delta State Police Command has arraigned 30 suspects arrested during an intelligence-led crime prevention raid carried out across identified criminal black spots in the Asaba metropolis. The suspects were among 202 persons arrested during the operation, which targeted brothels, suspected drug dens, and other criminal hideouts based on credible intelligence. Following preliminary investigations, police released 172 suspects, while the proprietor of Prince Tavern, 50 Brothel, 63-year-old Prince Chizoba Ojoko was arraigned for allegedly operating a brothel and procuring women and girls for prostitution. 29 others were charged with conduct likely to cause a breach of the peace and possession of illicit drugs. Delta State Commissioner of Police CP Yemi Oyeni reaffirmed the command's commitment to diligent investigation and prosecution of criminal cases. He warned operators of criminal hideouts to desist from unlawful activities, stressing that the command will soon intelligence-led operation to rid the state of criminal elements. And into Edo State, the Edo State Police Command has announced a statewide restriction of movement ahead of the July 11 local government council elections. The restriction will be enforced from 12 midnight to 3 p.m. on Saturday to ensure a peaceful, orderly, and secure electoral process. The command said the restriction is aimed at protecting voters, electoral officers, and sensitive materials while preventing any breakdown of law and order during the polls. Only officials of the Edo State Independent Electoral Commission, accredited election observers, duly accredited media personnel, security agencies, emergency responders, and other essential service providers on election duty will be exempted from the restriction. The Commissioner of Police, Monday Agbonika, urged residents to comply with the directive and conduct themselves peacefully. He assured the public that adequate security personnel have been deployed across the 18 local government areas to ensure a free, fair, peaceful, and credible election, warning that anyone who violates the restriction or disrupts the electoral process will face the full wrath of the law. And in Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has presented a 1.85 trillion naira 2026 appropriation bill tagged Budget of Resilience for Growth and Development to the Rivers State House of Assembly. Governor Fubara said the proposed budget represents a 24.49% increase over the 2025 budget, attributing the growth to improved FAC allocations and sustained economic expansion. He disclosed that the budget will be funded through internally generated revenue, Federation account allocations, and capital receipts. The governor proposed 413.1 billion naira for recurrent expenditure, including provisions for workers' salaries, recruitment, pensions, gratuities, insurance, and overhead costs for ministries, departments, and agencies. Governor Fubara also announced a 50% increase in overhead allocations to MDAs to cushion rising operational costs and facilitate the payment of outstanding salary arrears owed to civil servants. You're watching ADBN News. We'll be right back with more stories. You're welcome back from that short break. This is Adbn TV News at 2. Now on to xenophobic attacks. House of Representatives have rejected a proposal to suspend diplomatic ties with South Africa despite renewed outrage over killings and xenophobic attacks on Nigerians. Lawmakers instead opted for diplomatic and legal measures. The debate followed a motion by Honorable Yusuf Gagdi, who raised concerns over attacks and alleged persecution of Nigerians in South Africa. He cited the killing of 2 Nigerians, including one in police custody, and urged the federal government to summon South Africa's envoy and demand an investigation.
Worried, Mr. Speaker, that failure to decisively address this recurrent attack could further endanger the lives and properties of Nigerians living in South Africa. Continued inaction may embolden perpetrators and weaken confidence of regional institutions established to protect African citizens. Those recurring attacks threaten diplomatic relations, economic cooperation, and continental integration. The continuous killing of Nigerians abroad, particularly in South Africa, without adequate accountability, diminishes confidence in the collective commitments of African states.
Honorable Billy Osawaro said past diplomatic efforts had failed and called for accountability while commending ongoing evacuation efforts.
Why am I saying this? We as Nigerians, we have done everything. We have engaged them diplomatically. Mr. Speaker, it looks like we are being undermined. The sovereignty of Nigeria as a country is being undermined by the government of South Africa.
Lawmakers proposed tougher measures, including compensation and legal action, but rejected a motion to suspend diplomatic relations. Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu said diplomacy remains the best approach, describing the attacks as unacceptable. The House adopted a motion urging legal redress and referring the matter to the Foreign Affairs Committee.
I don't think the reaction, the treatment that the country is getting in South Africa is something to be proud of, especially as Africans. South Africans are the first to promote Ubuntu. They are the ones that projected the philosophy of Ubuntu that preaches togetherness, that we are one. Why are they not practicing what they preach? We are hoping that the current government in that country will allow the history of their country to emerge.
And into nutrition and security, the House of Representatives has moved to address concerns over national security and public health, condemning the reported incursion of Cameroonian soldiers into Nigerian territory while advancing a bill to regulate the nutrition profession. Lawmakers adopted a motion of urgent public importance on the alleged incursion into Daner community in Boki local government area of Cross River State. Sponsor of the motion, Honorable Victor Abang, described the incident as a violation of Nigeria's territorial integrity and called for enhanced border security.
Worried that it is an egregious violation of the tenets of international law for the Cameroonian armed forces to make such incessant, unauthorized incursion into the territory of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Such action offends the principle of territorial sovereignty, a cornerstone of customary international law codified in the UN Charter, which prohibits the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity of any state.
The House urged the federal government to strengthen security along the border, establish a forward operating base in the affected community, and referred the matter to the Committees on Defense and National Security and Intelligence. In a separate development, the House considered a bill seeking to establish the Nutritionist Registration Council of Nigeria. Chairman of the House Committee on Nutrition and Food Security, Honorable Chike Okafor, said the proposed law would regulate the profession, curb quackery, and strengthen efforts to address malnutrition and food insecurity. Nutrition, the bill has passed the relevant legislative stage and will proceed to further consideration by the House. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has arraigned the leader of Miyetti Allah, Kautahore Bello Badejo, and before the Federal High Court in Abuja over an alleged $2.33 million money laundering offense. Badejo, who was earlier detained by the Department of State Service, DSS, before being transferred to the EFCC, was arraigned before Justice Inyang Ekwo on a 12-count charge of alleged money laundering. He pleaded not guilty to all the charges after the prosecution, led by Wahab Shitu San, asked the court to take his plea. Following arguments by both counsel on the bail application, Justice Ekwo ordered that Badejo be remanded in the EFCC holding facility and adjourned the matter until July 20th for a ruling on his bail application. Into the Nigerian migrations, the Nigerian Immigration Service, NIS, has disengaged its third-party visa application service provider in the United States, directing all travelers seeking Nigerian visas to submit their applications directly at Nigeria's embassy and consulates. In a statement by its public relations officer, Akinsola Akinlabi, the service said the directive takes effect immediately. Until now, Online Integrated Solution, OIS services, handled Nigeria's visa application and submission centers across the United States. The NIS said the embassy and consulates have put adequate measures in place to ensure the seamless submission, processing, and issuance of visas, while urging applicants to follow its official communication channels for further updates. The development is part of the federal government's effort to streamline consular services and reduce bottlenecks in visa processing for Nigerians in the diaspora and foreign nationals seeking to visit Nigeria. Excitement and celebration filled the atmosphere at St. John Paul Montessori Nursery and Primary School, Uyo, as the school held a send-off ceremony for its 2026 graduating pupils. Parents, teachers, and invited guests celebrated the pupils' successful completion of their primary education, applauding their academic achievements and personal growth. Adbn correspondent Emmanuel Silas tells us more.
The events featured cultural displays, choreography, musical performances, drama presentations, and awards to outstanding pupils, drawing cheers from the audience. The head of the primary section of the school, Mrs. Ijomabia, congratulated the graduating pupils and urged them to uphold the values of excellence, integrity, and respect as they advance to secondary school.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for continuously making sure that these children are well taken care of, giving them the best facility, giving them the best education they can ever find around in this part of the world. And for the parents of the graduating pupils, we want to say a big thank you for bringing these ones to us. Without you, they won't be here. To the pupils, all I can say is be the best you can be. This is just a stepping point for you.
In her valedictory speech, a graduate, Ms. Edwina Timiebere, appreciated the management, teachers, and parents for their mentorship and pledged to be a good ambassador for the school.
Begin this exciting new chapter. May we continue to learn, to grow, to believe in ourselves, and to continue to make our parents, teachers, and our school proud. Above all, may we always honor the Almighty God in all things.
Some parents expressed appreciation to the school for its commitment to quality education, discipline, and character formation.
So the people are so happy, even the parents, and then it also encourages parents also to make sure they face teachers at any point in time before the teachers in school.
I give God the glory. You know how it is from preschool to primary. It's not been easy. All the early mornings and all that. So we give God the glory. And I congratulate all the graduates today. And I thank the school management.
Others described the institution as a strong partner in raising responsible and confident children.
Today indeed I'm very delighted. Delighted in the sense that this very cradle of education for our kids, because incidentally my first child, my daughter who is doing her 4th year in medicine today, passed through this same school. I'm grateful to the proprietors of this great college for bringing such a qualitative institution like this to Akwa Ibom State.
The celebration ended with cutting of cake, photo sessions, and best wishes for the graduating class as they prepared for the next phase of their educational journey. Emmanuel Silas, Adbn News.
The Universal Basic Education Commission, UBEC, says it has unlocked over 100 billion naira in previously unassessed matching grants for states and the Federal Capital Territory to boost basic education across the country. UBEC Executive Secretary Aisha Garba disclosed this in Abuja, saying reforms under the federal government's Renewed Hope agenda have enabled states and the FCT to access more than 90% of the over 260 billion naira that had remained dormant for years. She said the funds are being invested in school infrastructure, teacher development, and improved learning outcomes, including the construction and renovation of thousands of classrooms, the provision of toilets, boreholes, school furniture, and early childhood education centers across the country. Garba added that UBEC is expanding smart schools, digital literacy centers, and investments in artificial intelligence, coding, and robotics, while urging state governments to increase funding for basic education, stressing that federal interventions alone cannot meet the needs of Nigeria's school-age children. In Edo State Governor Senator Monday Okpebolo has expressed deep sorrow over the death of the Archbishop of Catholic Archdiocese of Benin City, Most Reverend Augustine Obiora Akubeze, describing his passing as a great loss to the Christian community, Edo State, and the nation. In a condolence message, the governor said the late Archbishop dedicated his life to the service of God and humanity, leaving a legacy of faith, compassion, integrity, and selfless leadership. He described him as a humble shepherd and a strong advocate for justice, peace, and good governance. Governor Okpebolo said Archbishop Akubeze distinguished himself as Metropolitan Archbishop of Benin City and former President of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria, noting that his moral leadership, wisdom, and commitment to truth inspired many across the country. The governor extended his condolences to the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria, the priests, religious, and lay faithful of the Benin Archdiocese, as well as the family of the late Archbishop. He assured the Catholic community of the Edo State government's support during this period of mourning and prayed for the peaceful repose of the late cleric's soul. The All Progressives Congress, APC, has expressed deep sorrow over the death of Mr. Adebowale Abayomi Ogunkoya, husband of party stalwart and executive director of the Rural Electrification Fund at the Rural Electrification Agency, Honorable Engineer Doris Ubo Ogunkoya. In a statement by its National Publicity Secretary, Felix Morka, the party described the late Ogunkoya as a man of purpose, humility, and selfless service, who touched many lives through his personal and professional contributions. The APC said the late entrepreneur, through his company Desk C Nigeria Limited, made significant contributions to Nigeria's power and telecommunications sector, while also supporting community development in his hometown of Ijebu-Ode. The party also paid tribute to his role in the Owo High School Old Students Association, where he served as secretary of the class of 1974. It extended its condolences to Honorable Doris Ubo Ogunkoya, their children, grandchildren, and the entire family, praying for the peaceful repose of his soul. And in business, the final day of NOG Energy Week 2026 focused on the future of Africa's energy systems, with discussions on hydrogen development, power sector reforms, and maritime capacity building. Industry leaders, policymakers, and investors examined how innovation, strategic investments, and skill development can drive a more sustainable, reliable, and competitive energy sector across the continent. Adbn's energy correspondent brings us the report.
NOG Energy Week 2026 concluded with discussions on hydrogen, power sector reforms, and maritime capacity as key drivers of Africa's sustainable energy future. The opening panel session examined advancing the hydrogen economy, a trusted pathway for energy transition.
Countries open particularly for hydrogen investment. The investors believe that they can come in and get something out of it. It is something very, very good as well. Energy mix is the hydrocarbon will be there for the next 50 years. What is going to happen is going to be a paradigm shift down the road in the demand for fossil fuels and renewable.
The second session, Re-engineering Africa's Power Markets, Driving Reliable Energy Systems, addressed the persistent challenges facing electricity supply despite Nigeria's vast energy resources.
That time we have a population of over 200 million people, and the grid is not enough to take out all those power where those population needs them, industries need them, small and medium scale enterprises need them, schools need them. Right? So we see already that strain. Once we complete this phase one, you are going to see much more improvements in the transmission network across the country. And these are not projects that are on paper, these are projects that are currently going on site as I speak.
The final panel discussion shifted attention to from ownership to competence, the role of maritime training and capacity.
Unfortunately, in Nigeria, we have the training institutions, but then the practical training still is lacking. And the way forward really for Nigeria is that the industry, the training institutions, government, everybody needs to work together so that every young person that is intending to go to the maritime institution has an asset that they're tied to, so that you ensure that that practical training is well taken care of.
Stakeholders ended the conference on an optimistic note, expressing confidence that collaboration and investment will continue when the sector reconvenes next year.
Nigerian oil and gas marine services has come to stay, and we should get better in it. And by next year, I should see an improvement in the marine space generally.
And back next year, I want us to come back with more implementation of things. So we're not talking about the same things.
I'm looking to come next year
same place, same time, and see the fruits of the seeds we have been planting today.
Congratulations, Party. Adbn.
The Senate has endorsed the proposed sale of Lafarge Africa plc to Chinese investor Hazwing Pan-African Investment Company, saying the transaction should proceed subject to full compliance with Nigerian laws and regulatory requirements. The upper chamber also assured that the combined 16.19% equity held by the Nigerian public sector investor in the cement company will remain unaffected by the transaction. The resolution followed the adoption of the report of an ad hoc committee chaired by Senate Minority Leader Senator Abba Moro, which investigated the proposed acquisition after concerns were raised over Lafarge's ownership structure. The committee concluded that the sale is essentially a transfer of ownership from one foreign investor to another and will not affect the interests of Nigerian shareholders. The Senate directed relevant regulatory agencies to maintain close oversight to ensure full compliance with all applicable laws and regulation. Nigeria has emerged as Africa's highest-ranked country in the latest global index on responsible artificial intelligence, earning recognition for its commitment to responsible AI governance, digital skills development, and AI literacy. According to the second edition of the Global Index on Responsible AI, Nigeria ranks 38 globally with an overall score of 45.93, marking it in the highest-ranked African country in the assessment. The country recorded a major improvement from the inaugural 2024 rankings, where it placed 80th globally, climbing 42 places in just 2 years. The report places Nigeria ahead of all other African countries, with Egypt ranking second on the continent. The achievement underscores Nigeria's growing leadership in promoting responsible, inclusive, and ethical artificial intelligence governance. Stay with us. Still ahead, foreign, sports, and entertainment news after this short break. Moving over to Spain, at least 11 people have died in a wildfire in Almeria, southern Spain, while 19 others remain missing as firefighters continue efforts to bring one of the country's deadliest blazes under control. Authorities said most of the victims appeared to be foreign nationals who ignored instructions to shelter in place during the fast-moving fire. Officials said the flames spread rapidly through wooded areas around the town of Los Galados, severely affecting the nearby hamlet of Bidar in the Andalusia region. Emergency officials said residents had been advised to remain in their homes, adding that many of the fatalities occurred when people attempted to escape the fire in their vehicles. And to Iran, Iranian armed forces have launched attacks on United States military infrastructure in Gulf states following recent U.S. strikes on Iran's southern coastal and eastern provinces, further weakening a 3-week-old ceasefire. Iranian media reported multiple explosions in southern Iran, including Bushehr, home to one of the country's nuclear plants, as well as Konarak, Chogadak, and Bandar Abbas. A U.S. official said there had been no American strikes in recent hours. The escalation came as Iran buried its slain supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, at a shrine in Mashhad, following a week of funeral processions and public rallies. Khamenei was killed in an airstrike on the first day of the conflict on February 28 during a U.S.-Israeli offensive that triggered a prolonged war claimed thousands of lives and disrupted global energy supplies. And in Greece's counter-terrorism police have arrested 3 people over a series of firebomb attacks targeting homes of individuals linked to the ruling party. The attacks, which occurred earlier this month in the northern city of Thessaloniki, claimed the life of 72-year-old woman, the mother of a ruling party parliamentary candidate, while 4 others were injured. Authorities said the assailants placed gas canisters set ablaze outside 3 residential buildings. The first 2 attacks caused only material damage, while the third left 5 people injured, including the woman who later died in the hospital. Police said the 3 suspects arrested have been linked to the third attack. Investigations are continuing. Now into sports, the National Sports Commission has continued its strategic drive to position Nigeria as a leading international sporting destination by securing the hosting rights for the 2027 Africa Beach Games. This marks the latest strategic collaboration between Nigeria and the Association of National Olympic Committees of Africa, following the recent signing of the hosting rights agreement for the 2nd edition of the African School Games, also slated for Nigeria in 2027. The African Beach Games comprises of beach volleyball, beach handball, beach football, and beach basketball, amongst others. Announcing the development in Abuja, President of the Association of National Olympic Committees of Africa, Mustafa Beraf, said Nigeria has demonstrated clear signs of emerging as Africa's leading sporting nation through the ongoing reforms by the National Sports Commission. In the world of tennis, Linda Noskova has reached her first Wimbledon final after defeating Marta Kostyuk 6-4, 6 in Thursday's semi-final. The 9th seed needed just 79 minutes to overcome the Ukrainian 12th seed on center court in sweltering 33-degree heat, booking a place in her maiden Grand Slam final. Noskova will now face fellow Czech Karolina Muchova in an all-Czech Wimbledon final. Earlier, 10th seed Muchova battled past Coco Gauff in a thrilling 3-set contest, winning 6-2, 1-6, 7-6 after holding her nerve in a dramatic final set tie-break. The victory, achieved in 2 hours and 35 minutes on center court, secured Muchova's place in her first Wimbledon final and sets up a historic all-Czech showdown for the title. That's it on Adbn TV News. Remember to watch us live on DSTV channel 258, on StarTimes channel 140 and Avo TV app, Limex World TV app and Niger TV app. For more stories, visit our website at www.adbntv.com. You can also watch us live from every part of the world by logging on to www.adbntv.com/live. And I remain Cynthia Okosa. Thank you for watching.